This is the Dark Zero Horror Network. Psychological Autopsies.
We're tackling a pretty huge piece of news for anyone tuned in to the Dark Zero Horror Network.
Oh yeah, the big one. Art the Clown has officially been crowned Slasher of the Year 2025.
His main franchise is, what, barely a decade old?
Exactly, and he somehow managed to leapfrog absolute legends. We're talking Myers, Voorhees, Krueger, decades of horror history.
It says a lot about where horror is right now, what audiences are craving, or maybe what they just can't bring themselves to look away from.
Okay, so let's unpack that. That's our mission today. We're doing a deep investigation into this.
Why?
Why him? What do our sources say about the anatomy of Art the Clown?
We have to look at his lore, his, let's say, controversial style, and how his look alone became this massive cultural force.
And it all starts, almost poetically, with a nightmare.
Right. The original seed of the idea. His creator, Damien Leone, had this nightmare years ago.
It was a really simple concept, wasn't it?
Super simple but terrifying. A clown gets on a city bus late at night and just starts terrorizing a lone woman.
But the key that Leone focused on, and what the sources really highlight, was the progression of the terror.
It wasn't just jump scare horror. It was designed to start awkward and uncomfortable.
That real-world anxiety.
Exactly, that feeling of being trapped. And then it slowly becomes progressively more intimidating and aggressive. It's that slow burn that gets you.
And that idea, that nightmare, it started small. First in a 2008 short film, The Ninth Circle.
And then again in another short, the first Terrifier short, in 2011.
So he was building the character piece by piece.
Yeah, and both of those were then rolled into the 2013 anthology movie All Hallows Eve. That was really his feature film debut, but he was still just a supporting character.
An unusual launch for an icon. It's also where we get the change of face.
Right. Initially, Art was played by Mike Giannelli in those first two shorts.
But by the time the standalone Terrifier film was getting made in 2016, Giannelli had retired from acting.
Which opened the door for David Howard Thornton. And that casting, that was a crucial moment.
He is Art the Clown now.
Completely. He played him in the 2016 film, again in Terrifier 2 in 2022, and of course in the Christmas-themed Terrifier 3 coming up. He is the definitive version.
So let's talk about what makes that version so scary. It's the motive, or the lack of one.
That's the core of it, really. Freddy wants revenge. Jason is protecting his territory. Art.
He's just doing it for fun.
He's acting on every single intrusive, sadistic thought that pops into his head. It's pure, directionless chaos, and that's so much more unsettling than a clear revenge story.
But this is where it gets complicated. The sources say the lore is starting to shift.
Yeah, that pure chaos theory is getting a bit of a wrench thrown in it.
Terrifier 3 is apparently going to get into the idea that Art might not just be a guy. That he could be a demon who needs a host body.
It's a big swing, and you see this happen with long-running franchises. You have to explain how the killer keeps coming back, how he's so resilient. It gives you a reason for the how.
But doesn't that risk watering him down?
Yeah.
The whole point was the terror of him being just a man who chooses this level of evil.
It's a huge risk. It's a real tightrope walk. You could lose that grounded, visceral horror and replace it with, high-concept supernatural stuff.
So it's a trade-off. You get longevity for the franchise, but maybe you sacrifice some of that original, raw terror.
It's a franchise necessity, perhaps.
Right.
A way to put him on the same level as a Freddy or a Pinhead for the long haul.
Okay, a necessary evil for a long life. Let's shift from the lore to the look, then, because Art's aesthetic is arguably way more famous than his movies.
It has to be. And his design was a very conscious choice. Damien Leone set out to make him the polar opposite of the last great killer clown.
Pennywise.
Exactly. Pennywise is all color. He has that wild hair. He talks constantly.
And Art is. None of that. He's bald, totally silent, and strictly black and white. It's minimalism as terror.
And he doesn't have, specific powers. He just uses whatever weapon is lying around. A hacksaw, scissors, a scalpel. It sets him apart immediately.
Let's really break down that visual. Thornton is 6'2", and that black and white costume is so high contrast.
With that baggy fit on his thin frame and the alternating patterns on the arms and legs, and then that goofy tiny little top hat.
It's so simple, But the black and white is more than just a style choice, isn't it? It's functional.
Oh, absolutely. It's the perfect canvas. These films are famous for their abundance of blood.
Yeah.
And when you splash that intense red all over a pure black and white palette, it just explodes visually. The blood stops being a prop and it becomes like part of his design. He wears it.
A badge of honor. It's genius. But the performance itself is where it gets really interesting. The sources connect his movements back to something historical.
Commedia dell'arte, the Italian theater form.
Yeah, explain that.
Okay, so commedia dell'arte was this form of masked theater from, like, the 16th century. It used stock characters and a lot of physical comedy.
And Art is basically one of those stock characters, the Arlecchino.
Exactly, the Harlequin. He was the trickster, the fool, the comic relief, known for huge, larger-than-life movements and slapstick.
And he would flip between being brilliant and being a complete idiot.
And that is Art's entire personality. That's his signature move. It's why his violence feels so bizarre and cartoonish sometimes. It completely subverts what you expect from modern horror.
You're talking about that scene for the second movie, the one that won the Fangoria Award.
That's the perfect example. He's being purely sadistic, slicing up a victim, and then he stops mid-torture to gleefully run and grab salt and bleach to pour on the wounds.
The little pause for extra flair.
That's pure, dark Arlecchino slapstick. It's a perversion of physical comedy, and it's all in David Howard Thornton's silent performance.
He says so much with just his face. The sources call them incredible facial expressions.
And the makeup is designed to amplify that. It's a minimalist, Joey-style white paint, which lets you see Thornton's own features, like his eyebrows moving when he's laughing.
And they even added prosthetics to push that Arlecchino idea further.
They did. He has these exaggerated prosthetic cheekbones, which are a nod to the half masks the Harlequin character would wear. It just makes every expression, from goofy to furious, read so clearly.
It's just an incredible piece of character design, top to bottom.
Which brings us back to the big question. How did all this lead to Slasher of the Year 2025? It's the cultural paradox.
You really have to look at the genre landscape. Most of the icons, the slashers that define the genre, they're all pre-2000.
Right. Since then, who has really broken through in the same way? It's pretty much just Art and maybe John Kramer from Saw.
For sure. The genre has been dominated by nostalgia, all the remakes and legacy sequels, or it's swung the other way into what people call prestige horror.
Which is more about atmosphere and psychology, not body counts. Exactly. So that left this huge, gaping void for a new recurring villain who is just pure, unapologetic gore. Art just walked right into it.
And in doing so, he defined this shift towards extremity. The Terrifier films are not, fun slasher movies. They're described as oppressive, mean-spirited, and downright sadistic.
The sources are really clear on this. Watching them inflicts mental toil, even on hardcore horror fans. They don't play by the old rules where most of the violence is quick or off-screen.
No, these films ask you to watch. They ask you to indulge in the atrocity.
And in a way, that's tapping into the genre's really dark origins. Characters like Leatherface and Norman Bates were inspired by real-life murderers. Art brings that level of raw, uncomfortable sadism back to the forefront.
And yet, and this is the paradox, despite being so hard to watch, he has this insane cultural cachet.
It is truly fascinating.
He is easily the most well-known horror villain to come out since Ghostface in 1996. Yeah. But how many people who know his face have actually sat through both Terrifier movies?
It has to be a tiny fraction. The movies are just too inaccessible for a mainstream audience because of the violence. But his face, his image, is everywhere.
You see the costumes at every convention, all over social media. You see kids wearing the mask who have definitely not seen the hacksaw scene.
His visual has totally transcended the source material. That bald, smiling, black and white killer is like a brand logo now. You don't need the context.
You just need the image. It's pure visual dread, perfectly packaged.
And that's the mark of a true icon.
So I guess that's what it all means. Art the Clown won Slasher of the Year because of this bizarrely perfect storm. He's a mix of classical comedy roots and hyper-modern sadism, all wrapped in a simple, unforgettable design.
He filled a vacuum in the genre at the exact right time. In an era of reboots, he's something new, something that's designed to shock. And, well, he has.
And whether you've seen the movies or not, he's now completely embedded in the culture. It proves that sometimes a powerful image is all you need.
So thank you for joining us here at the Dark Zero Horror Network for this deep dive into the anatomy of our new Slasher of the Year.
Before we go, we have one final provocative thought from the sources for you to chew on. If Art's whole thing is just pushing the boundaries of violence, Does he risk becoming like Pinhead from Hellraiser?
Yeah, a character who is aesthetically iconic, yet completely devoid of meaning for a lot of people, because the films just became about the gore. So the question for you is, can Art's powerful look sustain his icon status on shock value alone? Or does his future depend on Damien Leone finding something more to say beyond just the self-indulgent sadism that made him famous?